Justice Amy Barrett confirmed and immediately court packing threatened by the Democrats. Welcome back to Jay Sekulow Live. This is Logan Sekulow, joined by Colonel Wes Smith, who always has great points of view. Now, Wes, I'm sure you were like a lot of us. You watched what happened, confirmed, kind of smooth sailing.
You know, the thing I thought about, and it was a historic night, is that there really are a lot of similarities between Justice Barrett and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. They were both mothers who, have children and balance that with their law profession. Both of them were a top in their class in law school. Both of them were pioneers in their own field. Both of them really have done a lot for the rights of women to excel in the legal profession. It's just they arrived at different conclusions about things like choice versus pro-life. The thing that struck me most, there was so much theatrics and drama, but it was sort of faux drama. You might even call it histrionics. And the things that were said, the way they voted and walked out of the Senate chamber, Chuck Schumer saying that this is the darkest day in the 231-year history of the United States Senate. And I listened to that, and I'm thinking, I could think of several other times that were darker. For example, in 1860 and 1861, when part of the Senate walked out and joined a rebellion, I'd say that was a pretty dark day in the U.S. Senate. But apparently, according to Chuck Schumer, nothing like what it is now. I think he has a very shallow view of history.
Yeah, it's a lot of hyperbole.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I was watching, this is totally different than what you expect. I was watching a special on Dave Chappelle, the comedian, who was interviewed by David Letterman. He talks about how Joe Biden called President Trump the first racist president. He's like, okay, you could say a lot of things, but that's just not you can either agree or disagree on that. Obviously we disagree, but history does not lead yourself to those conclusions. It's like people are only in the history of their lifetime, and they can't see outside of what actually has led us up to this historic point. What, the fifth female justice on the Supreme Court? I mean, this is not an historic moment.
No,
but
every president, 29 times in an election year, there's been a vacancy, and all 29 times the president nominated someone. I think 19 or 20 of those times they were confirmed in an election year. Schumer and his Democratic colleagues not only have a shallow view of history, because that was not the darkest day in the 231 history
I don't think
of
so.
the Senate. But
not even close.
I think they have a very shallow view of propriety, and it's really immature. I watched all of the theatrics, the thumbs downs, like they were Caesar presiding over a gladiator contest and walking out of the chamber. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, this, with great apologies to third graders around the United States, they're acting like third graders who simply because they don't get their way, I'm taking my toys and I'm going home. And by the way, I'm going to get you back. Yeah. It's very immature, and it's very unbecoming for this deliberative body that's supposed to be one of the most distinguished deliberative bodies in the entire world.
But I think we should hear this is a bite from Chuck Schumer. There's bite 17. This is during the hearing right after. Let's take a listen to Chuck Schumer.
Here, at this late hour, at the end of this sordid chapter in the history of the Senate, the history of the Supreme Court, my deepest and greatest sadness is for the American people. Generations yet unborn will suffer the consequences of this nomination.
I mean, then, generations yet unborn. I mean, could you even ask for a better line than that? You think they're going to be suffering the consequences of having a pro-life justice on the Supreme Court, potentially?
I would just say that the hope is that generations unborn might receive more freedom as a result of courts taking their proper role. Logan, look, I mean, I don't think, Roe v. Wade's not teed up or anything like that, but activist judicial branch is why we are in that position as it is. But, Logan, one thing I would tell you is I was struck by the coordinated nature of this message. I mean, you expected it from AOC, you expected it from Sheldon Whitehouse, but Logan, you also heard it from the likes of Senator Coons, someone who's not, typically real quick to jump to that messaging. So I think it was coordinated. And here's the thing. I think you have to believe them. I think this is an effort that is going to be tried if they have all the levers of government. It's not popular with the American people, Logan. No. But look, I don't think that's going to stop them. I think when it's this coordinated, you have to believe them that that's their agenda should they have the opportunity to implement it.
But this was immediately following. The response quickly became to pack the court. Do we have some of those? Immediately following it, it said, U.S. House candidate 14, expand the court. Republicans do this because they don't believe Dems have the stones to play hardball like they do. And for a long time, they've been correct. But do not let them bully the public into thinking they're bulldozing a normal but response isn't. This is a legal process. There is a legal process for expansion. So normalizing the idea of packing the court, adding justices to get your way, this cannot be how we proceed. When there is precedent for the 9 justices, now we've had this for how long? I mean, sure, things can change, time can evolve, but it can't just evolve because of it's not going the political way you'd like it to go.
Yeah, they're throwing the Constitution out the window. They are much more loyal to party revenge, and that's what these threats are all about, party revenge, than it is about the Constitution or the will of the American people. You know, Chuck Schumer, said that because of this in his speech before the vote last night, that they needed to remember this, the Republicans, because from now on, the minority's ability to control and manage part of the Senate will be gone away, he said, if we take the majority. And I'm sorry, Harry Reid took care of that years ago. The ability of the minority party to have some influence on how the Senate operates went out the window when Harry Reid, changed the rules in the Senate. So, again, Chuck Schumer, there's a lot of theatrics. It's hyperbole.
It's a show.
And it is so immature. And again, I can't believe that these are United States senators talking this way and being this petty and this spiteful when what is at stake is our constitutional republic and how we operate as a people.
Thanks to your support of the ACLJ, we have had many victories.
The IRS now formally apologizing to Tea Party groups.
If any group feels like they're being targeted, they can go to federal court and bring our case. That's a victory.
It's one of the most significant wins in the ACLJ's history, to take on the IRS and win.
For more than 27 years, the ACLJ has been fighting for freedom and liberty in the United States and around the globe.
These are young people in their 20s and 30s that are doing this. They're fighting for life at a whole new level to beat back the abortion juggernaut. But I actually think we're winning this. This is one of the social issues we're winning.
The release of Andrew Brunson.
We're flying and they finally left Turkish airspace. It's like, okay, we're really out of Turkey and free again.
We need your help as we continue this work here in the United States and around the world. Join us online at the American Center for Law and Justice at aclj.org.
Welcome back to the Logan Sekulow Reprogram Takeover at Jay Sekulow Live, joined by Than Bennett and by Wes Smith. It's going to be a good show. We're having a good time talking about, obviously, the confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. Justice Barrett, got to get used to saying that. Got to get that in your lexicon now. Justice Barrett. We got a lot of calls coming in. Also, I wanted to tell you a little bit about our new Bald Beagle video. I think you got to hear about this. We have a channel, a YouTube channel. We've had a couple videos up already. Our first video, George Washington Loved to Dance, did really well. Had a lot of fun facts and information. We had a quiz video that followed that. And the new one, which I honestly think, and I'm sure Than in Washington, D.C. can attest this as well, we all maybe need a little education on how the Electoral College works. And I think it's just called, What is the Electoral College? There's so many times as a kid you're being taught, about essentially a popular vote. That's like the easy way to explain an election. But we all know that's not the case. And look, can I say this is the most detailed view? This is the easy to understand at an elementary school level, which I think, again, Than, sometimes your friends in Washington, D.C., need that as well.
I think that's true, Jordan. Logan, first of all, I would tell you, I always judge these educational kids songs by when I play them for my kids, how long they get stuck in my own head. And I got to tell you, the George Washington Loves to Dance hasn't left yet, so good job on that.
Thank you.
But I'm looking around at my notes for today's show, Logan, and I'm counting at least 5 different versions of the Electoral College map in front of me, in different depictions, different ways. So there's no doubt that it can be confusing, even for those of us who follow it. Yeah. But I do think it's important for people to understand why it exists and why it was set up that way. It's not just something to hide from the American people. I think, in fact, in many ways, it was created in order to make sure that all of us had a proper role in representative government. So I haven't seen what you've done yet, but I'll be happy to take a look and then share it with my folks in D.C. They probably need it more than we do.
A 7-minute, honestly, a short, episode of Bald Beagle. This is What is the Electoral College.
Bald Beagle. Ready to go, kiddo?
Go? Where are we going? The store?
No, it's election day. I'm going to vote. You should come along to see how it works. Your mom's going to meet us there.
Ah, Dad, that sounds boring.
It's not boring. It's actually an honor. There are countries where people don't get to choose who's in charge. And that would be pretty scary to me. Having the right to vote for our leaders is something we should be thankful for.
You're thankful you can pick the president?
I'm thankful I get a say. There are serious issues that your mom and I care about. We're voting for the candidate who feels the same way about them that we do.
Like what?
Well, like how much we'll have to pay in taxes, if they'll keep our country safe, and make sure there are good schools and job opportunities for everybody, no matter what they look like or where they live.
So the person you vote for wins?
I wish it were that easy, but no, not always. It's a little confusing. It actually depends on who our state votes for.
Our state votes? I thought you and Mom were voting for a can of dates.
I'm voting for a candidate. But then it gets a little complicated. In America, we have something called the Electoral College, which determines who gets to be president.
You have to go to college to vote for the president? I am so confused.
Honestly, I still am too. But no, it's not that kind of college. The Electoral College is well, how do I explain?
Perhaps I can be of assistance.
Who are you?
I am U.S. Amy.
Are you a superhero?
I like to think so. I'm here to help guide confused citizens through the election process so that they can do their civic duty and vote.
That's a very specific superpower.
So what is the Electoral College?
The Electoral College is a committee of people from every state called electors that determine who wins the presidency. Electors cast their votes based on how the people in their states vote. In other words, let's say a state had 10 million people, and 7 million of them voted for one candidate, and 3 million voted for the other. The elector would cast his electoral vote for the candidate with 7 million votes because that represents the majority of voters in that state. Every state has a specific number of electoral votes. It's actually the same number of representatives that they have in Congress, the people who make the laws for each state and our country as a whole. Maybe I'll come back and explain that one day. You happen to live in a state that has 2 senators and 9 representatives, so your state has a total of 11 electoral votes. When all your state's votes are counted, including your parents', whichever candidate has the most votes will get your state's 11 electoral votes. Does that make sense?
Kind of. But why don't they just count all the votes from every person in every state? And whoever has the most votes wins.
That would be called a popular vote. It seems like it would make sense, but there's a problem. Have you seen how big California is? That's a lot of people and a lot of votes. And there are a few other really big states, as well as a few really small ones. So a popular vote, while it sounds nice, wouldn't really be fair to everybody. Some states are big, some states are small. The Electoral College makes it fair for them all.
A catchy jingle. I did not see that coming.
Even your state, which is medium-sized, couldn't compete with all those votes. Imagine if at your next soccer game you only had 3 kids on your team and the other team had 10 or 12.
Oof, they'd destroy us.
Exactly. Elections aren't much different. States like California and Texas would obliterate the votes of states like Maine and Rhode Island. And politicians might only focus on those big states and their needs and ignore the smaller states just because they have less votes. Remember, some states are big, some states are small. The Electoral College makes it fair for them all.
So it's like if the ice cream truck came down our street and saw me standing by myself, but there were 5 kids across the street, so he just drove right past me, I wouldn't get any ice cream.
Actually, yes, it would be kind of like that.
Whoa, that'd be messed up. I need my ice cream.
It's true. He does.
That's why we have the Electoral College. Everybody deserves to have their ice cream. I mean, their vote. We have 50 states in America, and they all deserve an equal voice. The Electoral College is not a perfect system, but it helps keep elections from being completely imbalanced.
Some states are big, some states are small. The Electoral College makes it fair for them all.
Now you've got it.
So, who decides who gets to be one of these electors?
It's actually different depending on the state. In some states, the officials that are already in office appoint the electors. That means they say, "Hey, you're an elector now." Other states actually hold a special election to let the people vote for their electors.
I want to be an elector one day.
You can be, but that's why it's important for you to really pay attention and understand the election process, even now as a kid. You're the future of this country.
Wow. Thanks, U.S. Amy.
So now what do you say, kid? You want to come along and watch me cast my vote?
You bet I do.
I hoped you might.
Some states are big, some states are small.
The Electoral College makes it fair for them all.
And then after we vote, we can get some ice cream, right, Dad?
Yes. After we vote, we'll get ice cream.
And I will tell you, that is probably what your kids will be singing at home. Some states are big, some states are small. The Electoral College makes it fair for them all. Obviously, it's a very broad overview of the Electoral College, but I do think your kids are going to walk away, and you're going to walk away with some general ideas that maybe you haven't thought about and how it works and why it's more fair necessarily than a popular vote. We talk a lot about flyover states. We talk a lot about the small states versus the big states, and I think for a lot of people, get stuck in the popular vote mentality. And when you really look at the genius of it all that has been started, obviously near the founding of the country, is a pretty remarkable thing to see when it's based on, obviously, it is based on population. There's all this mix. We get into all of it on the new Bald Beagle video, What is the Electoral College? Hi, I'm Logan Sekulow. Right now, your kids are stuck at home trying to learn online, and the ACLJ is here to help. We believe the great and sometimes complicated history of our nation is too important to let anyone overlook. Not because of a pandemic, and certainly not because of someone's political agenda. But there are people out there right now, even political leaders, that have called to abolish history classes. They want to erase American history from classrooms and from textbooks. And that's why now, more than ever, we need to be honest and educate our kids on who founded this country, how government works, and what, even as a kid, they can do to protect it. You see, creating engaging and entertaining content for kids is one of my passions. I've been blessed to work with the biggest players in the industry, including Disney and Nickelodeon. But there's a glaring hole in that space. A channel that shares the same principles that you want to instill in our next generation. That's why we came up with this exciting new project that will offer fun and educational video content that you can share with your children and grandchildren. It's a brand new channel from your friends at the ACLJ. We call it Bald Beagle. Bald Beagle. I know it's fun to say, and yes, our logo is a half bald eagle, half beagle, but it'll be even more fun to watch. Bald Beagle will have your children's interest at heart with great content that at times will feel over the top and ridiculous, but it's actually very serious business. Bald Beagle's initial launch will be on YouTube. We believe our content needs to be available to kids where they are. And if your kids are anything like mine, that's YouTube. George Washington once referred to kids
as the future guardians of the liberties of this country.
Right. And we at the ACLJ and Bald Beagle believe we must provide an option now to raise those future guardians.
I like the sound of that.
Me too. If you believe in this mission and want your kids and grandkids to benefit from an educational entertainment platform that honors the same core values you do, visit baldbeagle.com today. Let's go ahead and take Brenda, who's calling on line 3. She's been on hold for a long time. Brenda, thanks for holding. I appreciate it. And what do you got to say?
Well, first of all, I absolutely love the fact that Justice Barrett is now confirmed to the Supreme Court. I happen to be a Catholic and a mom of a large family. It's really neat to see that, that door open.
Sure.
But I think if she does her job right, both sides are not going to end up being happy with her, because I think there are some things that push the constitutional limits on both sides. Is that not right? I mean, if she does her job and adheres to the Constitution, neither side's always going to be happy with her, right?
So actually, she is an originalist in the mold of Justice Scalia, but she said, I'm not going to be Justice Scalia, I'm going to be Justice Barrett. She is not a judicial politician. She is not one of these game players. She's going to look at the text of the statute or the Constitution, depending upon what she's construing, and she's going to read it as an originalist reads the Constitution. And as she learned to do it, when she clerked for the Supreme Court and in the many years she served on the Seventh Circuit, and she's going to do the right thing. She's a person with school-aged children, which I think makes a great deal of difference. Sure. The first, I think, in a long time, and I think that's going to play a lot in her decision-making. Someone who's a practical person, but again, not a judicial politician, but an originalist, and very pragmatic in the way she approaches things, and I think that's important.
I think you're right. I saw a tweet yesterday from one of my friends who's a musician. He was tweeting out into the universe, telling people. He said, ACB is a shining example of millions of powerful conservative women who are changing the world one small virtuous battle at a time. And I think that is a interesting statement, like you said, from a mother. And you're not talking about someone who at this point, their kids are all grown up and they're out of the house and their kids are in college or their grandparents. This is someone with young kids who has a different point of view, but has a point of view that I think resonates with people like our caller and with millions of people around the country. You can get caught up in this sort of echo chamber of yourself. If you look at social media, you may think you're the only person who thinks a certain way or agrees a certain way. I think with Justice Barrett, you at least have someone out there, presumably representing at least someone you can relate to. And I think that people can relate to and see someone who is clearly very qualified. I saw Lindsey Graham getting chased down in the airport or something. Yeah. They were like, how dare you support her? And he's just like, she's incredibly qualified. She's not qualified. He goes, and you can even tell he's just like, okay, of all the arguments you can make, unqualified is not that. I'm sure that happens to you in the airport too.
Nobody chases me down in the airport, Logan. Yeah. Although the qualified attack is pretty alarming on this one. She was so good in the hearings. But look, I love Brenda's call, Logan, because this is exactly how I feel. If she's as good as I think she will be, then there are absolutely going to be opinions that disappoint me and that I disagree with, because judicial restraint requires that. So quite frankly, if she ruled every time in a way that I thought was correct, then I don't think she would be doing her role justice. And the other point I would tell you, Logan, is that this connectivity with the real world, I actually think it's very important for the Supreme Court. I mean, she's going to be the first member that's not from an Ivy League school. She's going to be the first member on that court that's from the heartland, from that so-called flyover country. So if we want the American people across the country to have buy-in for our way of government, I do think that connectivity and that relatability, I think that's very important.
Absolutely. I think that is a big problem because I'm sure that there is polling data to suggest this, whether you believe in polls or not, polling data to suggest that the majority of the country may not know how the Supreme Court works. And they certainly couldn't name more than maybe a couple justices, if not any. You at least now have someone, like you said, who is a relatable person on that court, and hopefully that can help change that. One of the reasons we started Bald Beagle, the kids channel, is to hopefully at an early age explain now my 7-year-old and my 4-year-olds know how the Electoral College, at least from a general point of view, work. And I will tell you, at 7 years old, I did not. Check out our new video, What is the Electoral College? Find that right now on our Bald Beagle YouTube channel. Again, for those listening, that is Beagle with a B, like the dog. It is a half dog, hybrid, half eagle, Bald Beagle. Take a look. It's just fun to say. It's fun to say. It's a fun term. Hopefully your kids will remember it. My kids do. I judge everything through them. They seem to really enjoy this video. And our team did a wonderful job knocking this out. I want to thank all of them who worked on it because, wow, just a tremendous piece for kids to watch and for adults to watch. About 7 minutes of educational entertainment. We're going to have more coming up from Bald Beagle each and every week and month. You'll see new content. This can be posted continually. Quizzes, games, blogs, videos, as much as we can get to your kids when they need it the most. Support the work of the ACLJ. That's at aclj.org. Thanks to Wes. Thanks to Andy. Thanks to Than for popping in.
can tell me a fact about George Washington.
He was president?
He was our first president. We owe him a lot. How about something else? Something specific?
He had false teeth?
Well, that is true, but how about something not everybody knows?
He could not tell a lie.
Well, I know they used to say that, but he was human just like us, so that's probably not true.
Then tell us something we don't know about him.
All right, how about this? Did you know that George Washington loved to dance?
What? Come on.
It's true. For all the serious things he did for this country, people who knew him would say he loved to go to parties and he loved to dance.
George Washington loved to dance?
George Washington loved to dance. Born in February 1732, someday he'd be the one they choose to run the red, white, and blue. You've seen his face, cause it's placed on the green $1. George Washington, our number one first founding father. The colonies were in need of someone who could lead them. Washington was the one to bring that taste of freedom. With George on board, the USA had a fighting chance. A revolutionary man who also loved to dance. Loved to dance. George Washington loved to dance. He loved to dance. George Washington loved to dance. He loved to dance. George Washington loved to dance. Gotta keep it moving with this dance revolution. Now the King of England sent his troops to bring us to a finish. As general, he saved the day by taking on the British. On a snowy, stormy Christmas day, he crossed the Delaware. He wasn't worried about a wig, that really was his hair. Hey, George, be our king. That's no way to do this thing. A two-term presidency. Now let's set up the cabinetry. With his wife Martha by his side, this country would advance. But one thing that we've learned today, he really loved to dance. Loved to dance. George Washington loved to dance. He loved to dance. George Washington loved to dance. He loved to dance. George Washington loved to dance. Gotta keep it moving with this dance revolution. Dance. George Washington loved to dance. He loved to dance. George Washington loved to dance. He loved to dance. George Washington loved to dance. Gotta keep it moving with this dance revolution. So, yeah. George Washington loved to dance.